Definitely. Okay. Third and final warning for spoilers.
If you watch past this, it's your own fault.
If anything gets spoiled here, it's your own fault. Okay. I'm going to get my complaint out of the way straight away, and then we can just talk about all the good stuff the film does.
Okay.
I literally want to almost like do it in a very healthy way of, here is my issue, and it's gone. When we are in the Illuminati headquarters, we're talking to this world's Christine, and she says, this is Earth 838. Your Earth has been designated 616. I literally can't remember the next 30 seconds of the film because I was shaking with anger. So, if you've listened to like, all of our episodes, bravo to you. I don't think even me and Horry have done that, and we fucking recorded them. At the beginning, when Spider-Man just come out, I went through the multiverse and kind of how it worked, and the fact that the Marvel Cinematic Universe exists within all of the film universes like Maguire and Garfield, as well as the comic book universes. Now I know what you're saying. In No Way Home was the last one. What's one in between? Far From Home. Quentin Beck says this is Earth 616, which to anyone who's a comic book fan, we wrote that off as, oh, well, I mean, it's Mysterio. He's playing a prank. He doesn't realise that this is an Earth 616. That was fine. That's fine. That's not a problem. The problem is Christine was saying it was like an authority of like, we're aware the multiverse exists, blah, blah, blah. We've dubbed you this. So now what a lot of people are doing is they're going, okay, so we've got a cinematic Marvel multiverse and a pages Marvel multiverse. Here's my fucking issue with that. It's a retcon. I'm sick of fucking retcons. And I've like Horry, I told him to ignore the quote, but I did send him the quote. But it was just so I had it. Here it is. Back in 2008, when the MCU started with Iron Man, Marvel published the hardcover coffee table book, Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe A to Z Volume 5. This book contained the official designation for the budding Marvel Cinematic Universe, Earth 199999. Fans have since run with this designation, even naming a subreddit after it. This has been the designation for years, but now all of a sudden we're supposed to accept that the MCU is Earth 616. Now I know what you're going to say. Conor, it doesn't matter. It's a throwaway line. It fucking does matter, and here is why. If you're going to name an Earth, two Earths, the same number, they are then going to be assumed to be the same. Which means the differences they've made in characters, which for the most part I quite like, now are completely open to be torn to pieces because they are not accurate anymore. When you've already given the Earth a number before, why would you now go just for a throwaway line, 616, which is the only number from Marvel Earth that the majority of people recognise? It's just one of them things that didn't need to be done, and I refuse to accept that our Earth is 616, which means they have to go for the cop-out answer of Christine's designation isn't the definitive definition. At which point you go, well, what was the fucking point of the line then? Like I said, I know it's a massively nerdy thing to get worked up about, but it's one of them things that just didn't need to be done, and it was done for a cheap. And just if they hadn't named the MCU at all before, I'd be a little bit more accepting of it. But the fact that, like, all the way back at the beginning of the MCU, they went, that's what this Earth is, and now they're changing their mind, doesn't sit right.
I said to you in the message, I don't have the best memory at times, so I couldn't even have told you, had you asked me straight after the film, what Earth comic book Earth is. So when they said that, like, I know that every Earth has its, like, designation number. So I was like, when that popped up, I was like, oh, cool. They're finally like, look, this is the multiverse. Yeah. Every Earth that is different, and there's a way of, like, knowing. I was like, oh, cool. It's all, like, finally acknowledging the fact that there's all these different Earths. Didn't occur to me that it wasn't the correct number or caused issues like this. I get why, like, the more hardcore comic book fans are annoyed by it because it, like you say, it does cause issues with any changes they've made if they're saying it's the exact same world as the comic book one. If they're trying to say it's different, the MCU is a separate 616 to the comic book one, that's just going to get complicated.
Mm-hmm.
The only way, and like you say, it's like a cop out.
Yeah, I think the only way out of it now is a cop out way out of it. I don't think there's a nice way out of it.
Yeah, I think the best way they can cop out is like they make out that Christine mistaked this Doctor Strange, like which Earth he was from.
Maybe.
Because they'd gone through but like there was a lot of bounce. They'd bounced through so many different, like they could try and play it off as that. Who knows?
So just to add a bit more context as to why I think designations are important. I went on the Marvel fandom website, which I know isn't officially run by Marvel, but it's fucking as accurate as it gets with information, with hundreds of thousands of contributors who keep this like Wikipedia for everything Marvel insanely up to date. Lots of fandoms have them.
Mm-hmm.
I scrolled through it to look, to make this point, because I was pretty sure, but it's always good to have evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Without skipping like huge chunks of numbers, we go all the way up to Earth 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And like past, well beyond that as well. Which means there is all these stories that they've written. They've gone, we don't want that in the main continuity. It doesn't make sense for it to be in any of the other Earths we've used. It gets a new number. That way people can clearly see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
For people now who've watched the MCU and decided they want to take the plunge into comic books, this has just made everything infinitely more confusing. Because there is also this is a fucking great point that I've just thought of. A lot of people are going, okay, cool. So the cinematic worlds are a separate multiverse to the comic book worlds. I don't like it. It's acceptable. With one fucking problem. What about the tie-in comics that go in with the MCU?
Yeah, they do.
Are they now Earth 616 comics? Or are they Earth 19999 comics, which is cinematic Earth 616? It's confusing. And the designations, when they were like brought in, were to make it simpler.
Do you know what I think led to this decision?
Someone not reading the script properly.
No. I genuinely think this came down to when they were doing the script, they got to the point of this scene and they're like, okay, this is where we're going to introduce the fact that Earths have a designation and every Earth has a number. That way, people watching the MCU go, okay, every Earth has a number. This is an easy way to keep track of what Earth things are happening on. Right, and they've gone, okay, so what's the MCU Earth? Earth 199999. That's kind of shit to say in a script. It's a bit long. What's the comic book Earth? Earth 616. That's a nicer number.
It is.
Let's just use Earth 616. And if there's a problem with it, we just say this is MCU 616. And I genuinely think that's the reasoning. Because the number
you're probably right.
199999 isn't great to say in that situation.
Yeah, you're probably spot on right. But I'm still going to be a little bitch and moan about it.
Oh, like...
And I think everyone who like listens to this, while they might not care like I do, can appreciate the frustration. Or at least I hope they can. But anyway, that's the moaning out of the way now. Other than that, I loved every second of it.
Yeah, the film's great.
I loved the pacing at the start with just the instantly blah, 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 things are happening. I think the way we were introduced to America was brilliant with Defender Strange.
Yep.
I like that they started off with her not being able to control her powers.
Yeah.
Because for a power that's so fucking useful
Yeah.
to be uncontrolled is really fucking fun, and it's a brilliant plot device.
Oh yeah, it's a great way to introduce all these different
Yeah,
universes.
you're like, okay, we need to get her from here to here. How do we do that? Okay, she can't control her power. It happens when she panics. There's combat. She panics. Shit goes wrong. Sweet, easy, piss.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they did actual star-shaped portals, and
Yep.
I love the design of the portals. I think they looked amazing with that kind of like white electricity look.
Yeah, they nailed them.
Really, really good. One thing I did like was early on when she was on the building, like just after she's met R Strange and they're fighting the big ass monster.
Mm.
She stamps on the thing, and you see a little flicker of her using her power offensively without meaning to like knock the bit of ledge off and hit the monster.
Cut it out in the shape of a star.
Yeah, that was really subtle, but really fucking cool, and I appreciate it. And I think that kind of instantly made me go, okay, they've put time, effort, and care into this. This is going to be an experience.
Yeah, that little thing, like you instantly were like, okay, stars is her kind of thing, like this star shape. So,
one kind of overarching thing I wanted to touch on. Disney, don't get me wrong, Disney do not do a lot of things very well when it comes to being a good ally as an organization. There have been plenty of times they've not stood up for the LGBT plus community.
yep.
And everyone kind of got very excited when they were like, no, we're not going to cut out scenes from this film so we can release it in countries that don't allow that.
Yep.
But I mean, I think the scene that they wanted deleted was only 10 seconds long, which I think was when we saw her two mums in the flashback. What I did notice, however, and what actually makes me happier because it shows they never had any intention of bowing, on her lapel for the entire film, she had a pride flag.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
She had a pride flag on her lapel for the entirety of the film.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that actually makes me a little bit happy. I know Marvel, like, while they are under Disney, they kind of operate themselves a little bit, which is how they are allowed to get away with stuff. But I hope that kind of culture is changing at Disney, because people being discriminated against because of who they love is bullshit.
Yeah, it's unfortunately one of the things that takes time.
Yeah. But when I noticed that on the lapel, that made me quite happy that they clearly had no intention of ever pandering to these regimes. Anyway,
I'm trying to remember. So I'm gonna just say this from the start. I was right way back when we talked about the Doctor Strange trailer with the whole him going to see Wanda, and I remember saying back then, there's two scenes shown in the trailer, one with the perfect trees, and then there's one where it's just a barren wasteland. And I was like, I bet that's the same scene, and she's just hiding it all like Westview. And I was correct. And I'm fucking glad, because that looked sick when she did that.
You said that very defensively. I didn't say you were wrong. I agreed with you.
I know. I'm more doing this to any viewers that might have doubted this.
But the way it was done was fucking superb. Do you know what I really liked as well, though? So when they're discussing it before it's the big reveal, and she slips America's name, alongside me, there must have been 3 or 4 other people in the cinema I heard audibly go, and that is just brilliant.
See, I didn't even pick up on the fact that Doctor Strange hadn't said her name, and then he went, I never said her name, and I was like, she's fucked up.
Horry doesn't pay enough attention to films.
This is not necessarily paying attention to films. I am terrible with names in any sense. So when names are used, it goes in one ear, it comes out the other. It takes like 3 times before it locks in.
So I hate to be internet here, but why was it when she said, if you don't have her ready to hand over, it won't be Wanda coming to get her, it'll be the Scarlet Witch? Why was that so attractive?
That's not what I expected to.
So it's like, you know, like the TikTok trend of like, this needs to be less horny, this needs to be much more horny, this is the perfect amount. That didn't need to be that horny. And like, I'm not the only one who thinks this. I know, because Twitter is all in agreement. It's like, nah, she didn't need to give it all that. She didn't. It was outrageous.
I mean, there was plenty of scenes where she was outrageous.
People have decided to drop the dots when talking about Multiverse of Madness and just rename it Mum because the internet has decided she's Mummy.
Well, have you not seen the interview she did where she knows people call her Mummy?
She doesn't get why, but she's aware the internet does it, which makes it so much worse.
Yeah, she doesn't fully understand, which I hope she went and looked it up and figured it out.
I hope she didn't. I hope she didn't.
I do. It would be even better. Because then if she plays into it, knowing what it is.
But I think we can comfortably say all of the actors in this film gave phenomenal performances.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Benedict Wong was amazing. Benedict Cumberbatch was amazing. I apologise again. Zakatili Gomez? So bad. I will learn how to pronounce her name, I promise. And obviously, Lizzie Olsen.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking amazing. So good. Elizabeth Olsen managed to be... You felt sympathy for her while also being fucking terrified of her. And that is such a difficult combination to pull off.
Also, she really sold... Like, you could tell when you were watching Wanda and when you were watching Scarlet Witch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that distinction between the two was very readable.
Mm-hmm. I think the return of... I forget the two young actors' names who play the children.
Oh, the kids.
Yeah, I think they both did really well as well, because there's some difficult scenes to get right. And they did a very good job in them, I think. And of course, the cameos from the Illuminati were muy bien.
Yeah, they were great. I when going to watch it and you said you had an issue, my one guess was I was wondering if you were a bit annoyed maybe that they got only used for that and they were like offed very quickly.
So were you surprised when I came back and said I actually think they handled that perfectly?
No, because I fully enjoyed it. I just wasn't. I was like, this was the thing. I came out of the film. I'm like, what did Conor not like about this?
It was such a niche little thing.
And then, yeah, because it's such a small detail. Like it just, and I didn't even clock it. Like that was never a thought. And I was just like, I was trying to think of everything that happened. I was like, what could Conor maybe have not liked?
And to God, Horry, because you know I let little things ruin things for me. I sat there for 5 minutes watching that film, actively trying to forget it, so that it didn't ruin the rest of the film for me.
And
so I didn't want to obsess over it.
I didn't even clock it, so it didn't. I loved the way that they did each of the individual kills,
and
how creative it was for each like hero.
Have we spoken about the god-awful Inhumans TV show on here?
You have mentioned it, I think, more than once.
Okay, cool. So the actor who played Black Bolt in that reprised his role in that film, in Multiverse of Madness. It was the same actor.
Okay.
Which I was absolutely fine with. He was the only part of the show that I didn't hate, because I thought he carried himself perfectly. I love the comic book accurate suit of Black Bolt, and I might even do a character profile on Black Bolt next week. Or the week after.
Could do the whole Illuminati if we want to.
Yeah. But Black Bolt, I was worried, because let's be very clear. Black Bolt is without a doubt one of the most dangerous individuals in the Marvel Universe. And they needed to show how dangerous he was without letting him stomp Wanda.
Yeah.
And that's difficult to do, but I think they nailed it. And do you know what else they did, which, to me, really is like, it's very much like a nod to comic books. So, like, there's a couple of famous lines with Black Bolt where, like, oh, he once ended a war by declaring war and shit like that. Because, and that's his power. His voice is destructive to the nth degree. There's actually a really cool comic fight scene where him and Hulk are fighting, and he like tells Hulk to stop in a very like quiet voice, and it like rips Hulk's flesh off, and he regenerates. Hulk then grabs him, pulls him in close, screams at him, "I didn't come here to hear you whisper. I came here to make you scream." Which is just like, oh, it's one of the things
Yeah.
I'd love to see like done in like a what if or something. So the idea that they're there killing their Strange and the Black Bolt goes, "I'm sorry," and that disintegrates Strange's body, I think really showed how powerful Black Bolt is.
And I think the fact that they would pair it, so they had obviously both. Wanda was on her way, and like Doctor Strange was getting the rundown of what actually happened. The fact that the timeline of them showing these events is like they did that first, and it was a way for them to show, look, this is how fucking strong he is and his powers. Because for the most part, everybody else up there, we knew,
It's quite well known. Yeah.
or we've known in the past, whether they're not in MCU at the moment. So like, you don't really need to explain any of their powers. He was the only one where no one really knew. No one. Oh, if you haven't watched Inhumans or whatever,
I don't even think they really showed him off in Inhumans, honestly.
like only comic book people are going to know who he is. So I think the way they did that was great. Showed how strong he was. I love that I saw on Twitter, it was like, when you realize that Doctor Strange couldn't keep his mouth shut and got Black Bolt killed. Because Doctor
you mean
Strange.
Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, was it Mr. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Fantastic. Not
Yeah.
Doctor Strange. Mr. Fantastic. He
here's the
says that
thing.
one line. And I get it.
I know a lot of people are like memeing like, man had an ace in his pocket and just showed her. But what it actually was him going, "You don't have to do this, and if you try, we can end this instantly."
Oh yeah, it's him
He was
trying
like
to call her
trying to
bluff.
fuse the situation. But that line of "what mouth,"
And then it
might
pans
be-
over.
yeah. And I love like the panic, like that. The acting from his eyes was phenomenal. Kind of, and the panic, and then
the realization.
the trying to scream and blowing his own fucking brains.
Yeah,
Terrifying.
the way they did the special, like it's obviously VFX, but the way his head then turned into like
Mush.
a deflated balloon, and then the way it hit the ground, and like it was like, oh, it was so gruesome without actually having to show anything.
Yeah. And it really upped the scare factor of Wanda.
Oh yeah, I think that was the point where I think, other than the dead Defender Strange, we like nothing. Like yes, some of the landscape this Wanda was living in was a bit creepy, but that was the first point I think where you like cross the line of, okay, this is gonna push the bounds of what they can get away with. Like they're not hiding stuff.
There was like 3 or 4 things they did to slowly increase the fear factor of Wanda. So you had the landscape change and like the threat of it won't be me coming, it'll be the Scarlet Witch. Then you had when she like appeared behind the guy with the shield going, "Run." That was fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Then you had like the Ring Girl style fucking climbing through the wall.
Oh, that was the gong.
Yeah.
That was.
And then you had the way she killed Black Bolt, Mr. Fantastic, and Professor X.
Yeah, they were so. The way she did those kills as well. So we've talked about the way Black Bolt, the way she killed Mr. Fantastic.
So fucking brutal.
It was like I would never have thought how you would kill someone who is just elastic. But like as soon as it started, I was like, oh my god, this is like brutal. And like shredding him up to the point where it's just like he can't repair from that. Chopping
Captain Carter in half.
Captain Carter, well, my brain went blank then. Yeah. Chopping her in half without having to actually show that she got chopped in half, but you knew she got chopped in half, and then showing the bloody shield. Similar, which gave me the same vibes of Agent America or whatever from the TV show when I forgot what his freaking name is. What did he...
So when he did that, he was still Captain America, but he is US agent.
US agent, that's it. Yeah, but I didn't want to call him Captain America because he's not Captain America, is he? Let's be honest. No one
I know what
accepted
you
him
mean.
as.
Yeah. What Horry is alluding to and struggling is the scene in Falcon and the Winter Soldier where he fucking destroys the guy
Beats
with
up.
the shield and leaves
Yeah.
it covered in blood.
It was like the same, like, oh
Yeah.
shit. And then
The only
snap
lackluster one was the way they killed
proton.
Captain Marvel.
Is she
She's
Captain Marvel in that?
She
Okay.
is that universe's Captain Marvel.
It's the same. Is it the same actress as? No, it's not the same actress as.
Okay, so you had Carol Danvers, who is Captain Marvel in our universe.
Mm-hmm.
You had her friend, who is Maria Rambeau.
Yeah, who
In
started.
in WandaVision, we met Monica Rambeau.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
Yeah, Monica Rambeau is Proton, I believe.
yeah,
I'm not sure if they're giving her
that's
that. They had a couple of different names. In this universe that we were in when this happened, it was Maria
it
Rambeau
was her
who
mom.
was Captain
Okay.
Marvel.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because they probably just said, "Oh, well, she was the one in the plane or whatever." Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It was one of those where I was like, I know that actress,
But I don't
and
know why.
I couldn't remember which way round it was, whether it was the mum or the daughter. My brain.
The only person who hadn't played their character before was John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Also, side note, completely irrelevant, that suit was fucking gorgeous.
I'm gonna say now, I think he is cast as.
Yeah. It'd be proper fucking weird.
Well, obviously they could say it's a different person in our universe, whatever. But I do think this is them being like, this is the first person of Fantastic Four you're gonna get to see.
I think the big I would agree with you that they could recast if they hadn't used people who'd played the same character before at every other spot in the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
if they hadn't brought back like Patrick Stewart and the actress who plays Peggy Carter and stuff like that, I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe we get them again, maybe we don't, maybe they haven't decided. It would be really weird to have 4 other legacy actors who've played their character before. John Krasinski, who is a fan favorite, in for 10 minutes and then go, and now we're recasting. It would not be received well.
Oh no, yeah, I agree. It's just one of them where you never know. But
I think the only reason he doesn't remain Mr. Fantastic is if he doesn't want to.
Yeah. But
I'm
trying to remember the way Professor X got killed was creepy as. The freeze frame of her face as she snaps his neck is fucking horror film level look.
And that led into the one cheesy bit of the film for me.
Okay.
The tunnel chase where they stop and turn around and wait for her.
Yeah. I'm like,
that was just that lasted maybe 2 or 3 seconds too long.
Yeah, it was kind of like a thing of, even if she's gone, why have you stopped? Like, what? Yeah, there was a point where I'm like, okay, you've been stood here long enough. This is
just keep going.
Yeah, why are you not still running?
And like I said, that took me out just for a second, and then she came into shot, shit the life out of me, and I was back in it. But no, other than that, I think the horror hit a really nice level.
I wonder if because they purposefully maybe tried to make it a bit longer so that's everyone's now more on the edge of the seat. Like, why are you not moving? So then the thing jump scare moment hits a bit harder. But even so, yeah, I would have been happy if it was a little bit shorter.
I love the bait from the trailer of the Zombie Strange, and I love what it actually was.
Yeah. I think it was more early on. I was just like, it was from when they were on the roof and then he saw him, and I was like, well, that Doctor Strange looks dead. I was like, at what point is he coming back to life? And I was like, this has to be where the zombie one comes from, right? Because he almost looks like a zombie already.
And I mean, we were right. It was a Zombie Strange. We just assumed it was going to be like an evil thing, not Doctor Strange.
I think it was more that I think I thought he was going to be on Doctor Strange's side in some sense. But I didn't think it was going to be Defender Strange was becoming the Zombie Strange. I presumed Defender Strange was going to be like a whole nother.
Yeah, I
Um,
get that.
but I like how they basically satisfied giving us two different types of Doctor Strange from just one.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the way that they did Zombie Strange with the souls and the way the VFX on those like Souls of the Damned, are they called?
Yeah.
Was so well done and so fucking creepy.
I'm gonna say this, and maybe you agree, maybe you won't. So it used to be a thing for actually films that it used to get a video game that came out with it.
Hmm.
Some of them were goated, like Spider-Man 2's game. Some of them were absolute shit. This is the kind of film that definitely could have had a very good game to go along with it
Yeah,
because of
you
the
could be
structure of it.
creative, and
Yeah,
you
because of
could
the
be
different universes and the way you could definitely have a lot of fun with like a PS2 game inspired by this.
if they wanted to do a Doctor Strange multiverse game. I think what it is it's just like you can switch. It should be the same storyline, but essentially you just switch the visuals, and it's just you switch Strange, and it switches how everything looks.
Yeah. But anyway, like I
It's
said,
like
the film was
yeah,
amazing. I like the resolution of Wanda like forgiving herself.
and realizing that the only person that can stop her is herself.
That was a powerful visual of the Wanda forgiving her because she understands that she would probably do the same.
Hmm.
I think that was a really powerful visual that I loved. Um, the way America takes control of her powers is phenomenal.
Yeah, and then punches with a
Hmm.
star.
Um, it really was a good way of showcasing how powerful this kind of character is.
Mm-hmm.
I like that she's currently at the Sanctum studying mystic arts. That's a good place to leave her
Yeah.
until they want to do something else with her. I have seen some complaints. So, I mean, I'm not sure how many of the messages you read after you went to see it. Luke said, okay, so Wanda's dead now. And I'm like, no, she's not dead. For anyone who thinks she's dead, I'm sorry, you might be a little bit clueless. It would have been a much bigger deal if she was actually dead, I promise you. Um, she's not actually dead. And that made him go, okay, so does that mean just no one dies anymore? You need to accept we've got to the point now with these films where we're closer to it being a comic book universe than a film universe now.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, yes, people can still die. But what we will get is someone will get too old for their role, their
Mm-hmm.
character will die, they will then not use that character for however long,
Mm.
and then they will recast them as someone from a different universe. And they won't use them a lot, they'll use them sporadically, but it's going to happen. But they're clearly not going to do that too much because they're looking at legacy characters. We've got Kate Bishop,
Yeah.
we've got Yelena, we've got the Ironheart series that's in production.
It's
Like they're
gonna
looking at
be
legacy characters, which means it's going to give us even more time before they then maybe reuse old characters.
oh yeah, and it's also that situation now where if
There's only
the
so many
store
actors, guys.
yeah, and but also it's like now they've opened up the multiverse, they can get away if they ever needed for, and I think it would be very rare that they would do this, but if there was some very serious storyline point where it's like this really does need Iron Man for some reason, whether it's like just a few seconds or like a short moment or it's like something, they have now added the ability in that they can do that, and they could suddenly like a few years down the line it's an old RDJ and he's like an old man and he comes and does some little like thing because they need like there's something for the story that like it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But like I think they will be very careful with that sort of thing because the fans will call them out on it.
Hmm.
um
Um, I think that's about all I want to say about the film this week. Next week we'll discuss incursions because I want to do a bit more research on them before I start running my mouth. And we're also going to discuss Nexus beings next week because I've got a feeling they're going to be important.
Okay.
But again, I need to do a bit more research to make sure I don't say something completely wrong.
I'm just going to add one thing. You mentioned that we're leaving America Chavez in the sanctum. I kind of wanted to see Ned in the background.
So did I. So badly.
It would have been really so cool if it was just like
next to Ned.
Well, not even like give him like because obviously you don't want to take away the attention from this film and the storyline. Like you could have just had him in the background, just
Do
there.
I know what the only actual issue with that is? Because he doesn't remember Peter anymore. He shouldn't remember that he has magical powers because that's intrinsically tied to Peter.
See, this is where they've never explained like how much they forget.
Yeah, but it'd be really weird for him to know he has magical abilities and not remember Peter.
So but if you do that, does that mean they don't remember the fight at all? And does she not remember how she got injured?
Do you know what I think it is? I think they avoid all of that stuff just until they have a better idea of what they want to do, which is why he wasn't there.
Yeah. I know.
They set up their rules.
I know people have said to Benedict Wong, I'm sure that's his last name.
Yeah, Benedict Wong.
Wong, who plays Wong.
Wong.
I'm sure. I think in some like little interview or like questions that he did on like the red carpet, something like someone mentioned that, and he is like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally down for like a film or TV series where he's like my new apprentice."
Yeah.
I think that'd be
Buddy Cop series with Ned learning from Wong would be amazing.
And then make him like his first person that he's like trained the Sorcerer Supreme.
I also liked the Wong didn't succeed being the Sorcerer Supreme back to Doctor Strange in this film.
Well, I don't think he ever will. I think we've said it, I think, in the past where like it'll probably only happen as he dies. And I was wondering whether he would die in this film because of the trailer.
I thought for a second when she threw him off the cliff he had died. And again, I was ready to be angry because I was like, if that's how they've killed Wong off, I'm going to raise hell.
Yeah, see, I was like, when that happened, in the back of my head, I was like, that's obviously not how he dies. But I was like, well, I know what it was. In my head, then I'm like, I was waiting for that point where from the trailer he shouts Strange. And when she threw him off, I was like, it's going to cut to him like hanging onto the cliff or something. But it cut to him
like... like 10 more minutes to film before that.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, sure. But then I'm distracted by what's actually going on and I don't think about it. But yeah, there was a couple of points where he was on the edge of he could have died.
When she was torturing him, I was really worried we were about to see him die in a really brutal way.
But yeah, I don't think he gives up Sorcerer Supreme anytime soon.
And do you want to know, as stupid as it sounds, why I like that so much? The comic book character of Wong is a horrific racist stereotype.
So it allows them to change that.
So the character of Wong is actually like not good and needs to be forgotten about in the comic sense. So what they're doing is they're using these films to create a new Wong, a better Wong, a more interesting and better character that doesn't harm Asian with bad stereotypes. Which is why I didn't want him to die. Not because I love the character, but also he's actually doing a lot to undo damage as Marvel has done with some of their characters in the past.
He's also got yoked.
Yeah, he's fucking jacked!
Someone showed like every time he's appeared since the first, and he's like fucking jacked.
Yeah. Okay, so like I said, we'll leave Multiverse of Madness talk there. Because I also think I need some more research on incursions and Nexus beings. But I think with Josh with us next week, surprise, that'll be a really interesting like group conversation.
Yeah,